Chapter 1. The Gift. Late afternoon sunlight played across ivory walls, and the deep green tropical plants sprawling against them. Water, whispering over rocks in one corner, made the large airy room seem almost an extension of the leafy world beyond the open window. A bird, blue as a piece of fallen sky, flitted about a young girl sitting, knees drawn up, on a lounge of softest carded wool. Absent-mindedly she held out her hand to the bird, but one had only to note the dreamy sea-green eyes to know her thoughts were far away. "Well, little Sapphire," she said, finally, stroking his sleek feathers affectionately, "you have disturbed my reverie, so now you must listen. Father has promised me a surprise tonight, and no ordinary surprise at that. Something very special. And Mother is upset about it. I can tell by the way she walks." The girl smiled, seeing her mother's erect, disapproving carriage once again in her mind's eye. "But she has not said no. Very mysterious, wouldn't you say, my little friend?" The bird cocked his small head as if he were indeed pondering her question. "I don't think he's going to buy me something, for he knows I don't yearn after anything in the marketplace. All those silver bangles in which Mother so delights only gets in my way when I'm running through the woods or working in the gardens. Perhaps he is going to make me something. That must be it." She snuggled the bird under her chin, letting her thick brown hair with its copper highlights fall like a nest about him. "Maybe a sculpted bird as beautiful as you? But Mother would not object to that. Very mysterious indeed." Putting the bird back in a large aviary, which filled one corner of the room with color and song, she strolled out through an expanse of flowers, shrubs, green grass toward a long, low structure at the rear of the property. The sight as she entered was a familiar one, but she never tired of it. Her father's workshop was a place of peace, despite the constant presence of a workman or two busily tending the firing ovens or preparing the clay. Knowing her father was no ordinary potter, she walked among the tools of the potter's trade. Everywhere there was blue, rejected lumps of blue clay upon the floor, tall blue vases in various stages of production, blue urns and lovely bowls. But she loved the sculptures best, and she always studied the collection slowly and appreciatively, missing the absent one that had been sold, seeking the new fresh one from her father's hands. Today she spotted a peacock with his tail fanning into subtle shades of the blue clay. How long had her father labored over that detail? There was a proud turn to the head, so like the peacock that strutted about among the tamarasks in their own rookery. How did he catch the nuances of stance or expression? Still smiling with pleasure, she turned to see where her father molded a deep bowl with sure strokes. She had learned as a child she was free to come and go in this place, if she refrained from speaking while he was at work. So ingrained was the habit that now at 15, she made no sound as she watched his artistry. When the bowl was complete, he tilted the edges outward, and with deft movements formed, from small remains of the moist clay, a garland of leaves and flowers to adorn the rim. The girl made a soft sound of delight. Nathan lifted his head, startled at her presence. So absorbed had he been in his work. "So you like it?" he asked. "So do I. Now, my pretty one, let us leave all this river mud behind and find your mother." He stood and stretched wearily, a trim man of startling height, with sandy hair and dark, gentle eyes. "He's all earth tones," Shania thought, scrutinizing him fondly. "His coarse robe, his skin, his eyes, his hair. He's worked with the earth so long he's become part of it." Only Nathan's working earth was blue, the lovely gray blues of Havilah land in the hidden valley of the childhood. It was from these muted clays he created the rare pieces that brought such extravagant sums at the marketplace. Other men's done creations might serve for water jugs and cooking pots, but Nathan, son of Sep, combined his creative genius with a unique medium to produce an artistry rare among men. It had provided his family a place among the wealthy, and as Nathan and Shania strolled through the gardens surrounding their homes, he was grateful, as ever, a bit surprised that a work he loved had proved so lucrative. "How did you spend your day?" he asked, turning the girl at his side. "I worked with Ira in my garden till midday," she replied. "We weeded for hours in the hot sun, and it was most uncomfortable, but the results are gloriously worth it. You will see how beautifully the delphines set off the white roses, and the new shrubs brought from the mountains are absolutely right on the rock behind. Ira is a genius, father, and I'm learning so much from him." "There is no need for you to work so hard," Nathan chided. "If we were short on servants, let Ira hire another. You need not to grow up with dirt beneath your nails, as I did. You are a young lady of means, my love." He smiled fondly at his only child. She spread her tanned, slim-fingered hands before him. "Father, there is no dirt beneath my nails. I soaked long in the bath, and you must admit I look as fresh and pampered as any princess. During the heat of the day, while Mother rested, I lounged about, and I played with Sapphire, and I tried to guess your surprise." Shania glanced sideways at her father. "Oh, you did, huh? Well, soon your suspense will be ended, for the evening meal appears to be late, and your mother awaits." In a shady courtyard, a slim, dark woman placed a tray of grapes and melon slices upon a table, and with a wave of her hand dismissed two servant girls who hovered nearby. Nathan embraced her warmly, and Shania thought for the 100th time how ardently, how obviously he loved her mother. And with good reason, for her sultry beauty seemed only to increase with age. She was vivacious and witty, a clever companion indeed. Shania had inherited her sea-green eyes, but otherwise she had the golden sun-kissed look of her father's people. When Nathan had bathed and changed into a fresh robe, they relaxed and enjoyed the flat barley bread and fruits that comprised their evening meal. It was the simple fare of Nathan's country childhood, and he preferred it still. As they ate, Shania waited impatiently for him to mention the promised treat, but he appeared to be avoiding the subject. She sensed his reluctance to roil the serenity of the moment, but she could not contain her youthful curiosity. "Father, you promised my suspense would soon end." Nathan hesitated a moment, then plunged nervously ahead. "In 2 weeks I'm going to Havala, the Riverland, to visit my parents and replenish my stock of clay. But before returning I shall travel on to view the Garden of Eden, and to see if I can catch a glimpse of the old patriarch Adam himself. They say he is aging rapidly and may not live much longer. It is many miles beyond my homeland, and it will be a demanding journey, but it is something I have determined to do." Nathan lapsed into silence, then, seeming lost in thought, and Shania wondered what it all had to do with her. She wished he would finish what he had in mind. Was he planning to bring her some rare plant from his travels for her garden? What was he getting at? She glanced at her mother apprehensively, but read only disdain written upon her cool features. Quickly then, as though to finalize it, Nathan said, "It is my plan to take you with me." Shania would not have been more astounded had he said he was going to leave the potter trade. Not even her mother ever went with him on his semi-annual expedition to acquire new supplies of clay, the journey being long and wearying. A cautious excitement began to build within her. It was a gift beyond her wildest imaginations, to walk among the rolling hills surrounding the city, and go beyond, on and on into that mysterious land that had been her father's home before he met her mother and lost his heart and heritage. He had told her many times about the quiet valley with giant trees spreading their limbs like leafy roofs above the dwellers, a place where sunlight filtered down upon the paths and sometimes caught the colors of gemstones lying loose along the streams and upon the ground in the secret places where man had not snatched them up in his greed. Once he brought her mother an aquamarine, which he had set in a silver band. Her mother had pulled her thick black hair to one side and slid the jeweled circlet around a dark shining rope. The jewel was the exact color of her eyes, and she was a lovely sight, laughing there in the ivory room. Shania had read the pleasure in her father's face as he watched her. Now she would visit the land herself, to meet her grandparents, her uncles, and her cousins, to see the riverbank where her father's servants dug the clay that became sculptures and bowls here in the workshop. Suddenly, she realized she had not said a word and that her father was looking at her strangely. Is the idea frightening to you, child? I shall not compel you to go, you know. It's just a whim. He sobered then. No, Shania, not a whim. A burning desire. I want very much to share it all with you. And I want you to make the Eden pilgrimage with me. I want it very much. Shania chose her words carefully. Her father had bestowed a great honor upon her, and she would have him know that she understood. I have no words to express my feelings. It is a gift beyond comprehension. Her eyes sparkled and all formality vanished. I am more excited than I've ever been. I do not think I can survive until I am upon the back of Hades and headed into the hills. You have no idea what you're getting into, her mother snapped, and your father has no business taking you. Shania sensed the fierce battle had raged behind the scene. It was seldom her father denied his wife anything, ever taking his greatest delight in pleasing her. But this time his wish had prevailed. At what cost, Shania could only guess. I am young and strong, mother, used to hard work in the gardens. There is nothing to fear. And if you are attacked by robbers or wild animals, I suppose those frail young arms will hold them at bay. Nathan spoke before his daughter could reply. The servants are always armed, Ona. You know that. Shania would be our first concern. And you know also my grandparents have a right to see their grandchild. Let this be a happy time. Anger is not appropriate here. I thought we agreed to that. But she could not be stilled. It's not your family you are dragging you through the wilds to see. It's that garden with the flaming swords and the doddering old man who professes to have once lived there. For that you will expose her to every danger and discomfort. Don't try to fool me, Nathan. You hope to make a believer, a disciple of Adam out of her, a fanatic who opts to live in solitary, a life intense and hope for return of innocence. So devout you are, my husband. When the wealthy come and want their sacred images sculpted by your skillful hands, you cannot oblige. Oh, no. You must maintain your stupid loyalty to this invisible God, who never hears, never helps, never answers, who cannot forgive, who locks us out of our rightful home. He's gone, Nathan. Don't you understand? Gone. Better to pray to the trees and the sun and the spirits. Ona's eyes were wet with tears. Shania wondered if they were from anger or despair. Nathan rose, towering over his wife as he went to her side. Ever so gently, he lifted her into his arms and carried her inside. Shania could hear the low murmur of their voices long after darkness had settled over the leafy bower where she sat. Would her mother entice him yet to leave her behind? Somehow she thought not. This time he would stand firm. Her mother was right, of course. He was taking her to worship the true and living God at the gates of Eden. And if they were there in time, they would hear the voice of Adam and look upon the face that had once gazed upon the face of God. Her father hadn't even mentioned Eve. Was Adam's wife still alive? She would like to see her legendary beauty. Shania walked a bit in the gardens in an attempt to calm herself before going to her room. The fragrance of honeysuckles hung sweetly on the night air, and drifts of yellow snapdragons glowed luminous in the moonlight. When she came to her own garden, the one Ira had helped her design in a secluded corner tucked behind two natural rock walls, She knelt upon the moist grass and lifted her face skyward. She did not know how to approach the great God of heaven, did not know what to say to him. But there in the night she felt an awareness of his presence, and strangely, somehow, a longing, a loneliness for him.